Hey everybody, Brian from Bearable Traders here. It is yet again another weekend, December 17th. Hope everyone's having a good holiday season so far. And this is the weekend video. We'll go over what happened last week in the markets. It was a really big week with Powell really lighting a fire into the market. And let's take a look at what we got coming up this week. It's probably going to be a little bit of a quieter week, but always something going on. So let's get down to it. Okay, as always, let's take a look at what happened last week. Real quick review. Of course, the big event was the Fed rate hike decision, or no hike decision, and then Fed Powell really lit a fire into the markets, as I mentioned already. He mentioned that the tightening cycle was likely coming to an end and looking for maybe some rate cuts in 2024. And of course, as soon as investors and traders heard that comment, they just pressed the buy button, and the markets really took off on those comments. So you can see all the indexes, huge gains on the week. The biggest, of course, was IWM, the small caps. They've been the ones that have been suffering the most during this rate hiking cycle, and of course they benefited the most on that news. So big move on the IWM. The areas of strength that look the best, real estate, of course. If interest rates are going to drop, real estate market looks pretty good. Same with basic materials and building. The communication services, utilities, weakest sectors on the week. You can see here what happened. Treasuries had already dropped quite a bit prior week, but we saw another decrease this week. 10-year dropping down below 4% now. Remember, it was up almost to 5 at one point there. I think it did actually hit 5. So now we've had this really radical move on the 10-year down to under 4% there. And not surprisingly, the dollar did weaken up with those treasuries dropping on the yields, so a little bit drop on the dollar. And Bitcoin was also a little bit lower. Of course, we've had a real strong run on Bitcoin, and so just a little bit of a pullback here for Bitcoin. So that was your week in review. Okay, and so before we get looking at some charts, I always like to throw in a quick mention for my book on Amazon. There it is, How to Swing Trade. Rules, Routines, Strategies of a Swing Trader. And I just got up my new book here. I'll show it to you. It is How to Trade Options. There it is as of December 5th. It's been on there. I just got the ebook version up on that, and that's a complete guide to trading options with some strategies and risk management principles in there. So if you want to check that out, it's new. I am trading a lot more options these days, and so a lot of stuff on there and how I do that. So let's get down and start talking some charts here. Here's the 2-year Treasury. You can see here we're rolling over, especially after last week's comments by the Fed Powell, and heading back down there. The market's really got a lot of rate cuts more aggressively cutting rates next year. Maybe we'll take a look at that in a second. And here's the 10-year. Man, that just rolled over and kind of fell out of bed here. And I am looking at a trade here. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here. I think this is kind of a little bit overdone, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. Transports on the day, not so bad. See, our volume was really good. Look at the volume coming in there on all those on the transports. It's going to be the same way for all the stocks this week. A lot of volume, transports, pretty decent volume, good gain on the day, and looking like it's strong. We've got FedEx reporting next week. That'll be interesting. Good read on the economy there. And here's the Dow. Dow making that big move Wednesday, Thursday and Friday continued on there, that buying spree. And you can see here on the week, again, breaking out new high. And yeah, amazing move on the Dow. And I think it's getting a little bit extended here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us continue to hold up at this level going into the end of the year here as the party continues. And here's the Qs. Again, big move Wednesday after that comment. Thursday, a little bit of a check back, and then the buyers came in again, and again the buyers on Friday pushing it higher. And you can see here pretty decent volume on all those moves here. So not just mom and pop, but institutions participating. And there's the Qs breaking out. I think this is since 2019. Goes back to when it was that high before, getting close to all-time high. And here's the SPY again, kind of looking a little tired here, though. It's having some trouble after this big day Wednesday, pushing higher, really overbought on the RSI. Stochastics quite overbought. We could, I don't know if we're going to, I don't really think we're going to roll over here, but it's really looking like we're having some challenges pushing higher after that explosive move that we got on Wednesday. And there's the SPY breaking out there, looking good. Probably going to hold up there for the coming week. IWM, again, the biggest mover on the week in terms of the indexes. The came right up, and a little bit of selling on Friday, a little bit of profit taking, but you can see here the volume was pretty amazing. I think that was the story of the week, was the amount of volume that we pushed out here. And you can see here IWM on the weekly, we're right up into an area where there's been resistance before. So here, here, here. And of course, this is, we got up, did we get to 200? Yes, we did. We just barely pushed over it, pulled back, and closed at 197.04, which is about where we topped out here. So watch for a little backing and filling on the IWM, but momentum going in the right direction. Getting a little bit overbought here on the stochastics. Doesn't mean we can't go higher and push into a new range there. So watch that break and hold above 200, because that'll be interesting if we do break above 200 on IWM. TNA is a way to play that. That's the one I'm long. And I believe Andrew, also one of the founder of BBT, he got long BBT on that, or TNA on that explosive move on Wednesday. Got a really nice move on that. Fear index, VIX, you can see here, we're still hanging around 12. Really no, this is the fear gauge, and there is clearly no fear in the market for a sell-off, which leads me to believe that we are going to probably stay up in this range. And the dollar, a bit of a comeback on Friday, but that massive drop on Wednesday after news of possible rate cuts coming, and that, of course, sent the dollar lower. And again on Thursday, and a little bit of a rebound on Friday. That actually might come back up again. This is down into an area where there might be some support. So there was resistance here and here, and that's pretty much where we bounced off of. So maybe we'll see a little bit of a comeback there. Of course, this is mostly dependent on how the dollar trades against the euro and the yen. It's pretty heavily weighted against those two currencies. And here's Bitcoin, is trading around 42,000, but you see you had this monster move up, bit of a check back, and to this moving average, and now we're forming this nice little pennant here. So the question is, which direction are we going to break out on this pennant? And pennants will resolve themselves either out of this narrowing, either up or down, obviously. Odds are on up because this trend is up, but it not necessarily always happens that way. So just be aware that pennants can break down, but the propensity for one to go for it to break out here on this uptrend. So odds are we may see a break higher, but we'll see on that. The best strategy for this is to wait till one of these trend lines is broken, and then see where it goes from there. So that's Bitcoin, and again, just a little bit of a pullback there. So let's take a look at maybe what we're going to watch next week. It's a little bit light because it is going into a trading week where we're going into a long weekend and Christmas, so there will be lighter volume and sort of less sort of activity. We don't have a lot of earnings this week, although we do have some interesting ones. We'll cover that in a minute. Apple's there was some news came out actually that about the Chinese government after hours on Friday. It was down a little bit on that news. They're continuing to sort of ban Apple products, sort of a little bit of tit for tat retaliation. But you can see here, this is an area. This 90 sort of 96 area is an area where I'd be watching for support on that. There is a lot of option activity that's based around 200, 202. So traders actually next week looking for a move above 200, but it looks like we may be in this range here, especially on that. We'll see how it reacts to the news on Monday on this pullback. But if it does pull back, I'd watch for buyers to come in on Apple. AMD's looking a little bit tired here after this monster move up, and again, opportunity possibly to sell some upside calls on this. It's been dangerous selling upside calls because stocks have moved so strongly to the upside. It's better to sell. It's almost better to sell the puts, the downside, because it seems like there is a Fed put there that keeps getting bought up. So there's a range sort of between 135 and 145 on AMD, but I wouldn't count on it maybe moving much next week after this big move. Amazon looks ready to break out here. You can see here a series of higher lows. We did break out. This was the area. Again, this is kind of a ascending triangle. It's a little bit similar to a pennant. You don't have the descending line here. You've got a flat line, but you can see here how we kept testing this trend line and then eventually broke out from it. And it looks like Amazon definitely wants to go, or not definitely, but it definitely looks like it wants to go higher. GDX, I got back involved with that on Wednesday. I had sold it off when it ran up into this area of resistance, and now I am back in it again, and we'll see where it goes from here. But might be a bit of a gap fill here, but as long as it stays sort of above that gap, I'm going to hold it and see if we can get a move higher on gold, maybe a breakout this time. Meta was a trade I did on Friday, actually. I looked at it. It was stalling. It was having trouble getting above 338-ish area. So what I did was I shorted 340 calls that were going to expire at the end of the day on Friday. Still got like 60 cents for them, and just set a stop. Gave myself about 15 cents for a stop, and they expired worthless. So that was a strategy that I used using options on Friday. But again, this stock looks like 340's resistance, and this sort of 327, 328 area support for the time being on Meta. Let's see, and Oracle, I'm looking at this. This is definitely an area where there is support around 100, so you could sell some puts here and hopefully collect the premium at the end of the week. It does look like it is seriously trying to hold 100. That had a earnings report on Monday. TLT, this is where I mentioned about the yields. I still think that I don't think yields are going to go up much higher. So I'm looking at selling some puts here. I'm looking at selling some 102 puts, thinking that it's probably not going to go above 102 by early next year, sort of January. And I'm going to see what kind of premium I can get for that on Monday. But to me, this looks like we've had a really nice run up, and I think we're kind of at the edge of how far this can move here in the near term. So TLT looks interesting. And TNA, this is a move I caught last week. Really nice move up. Kind of lucked out a little bit with that those Fed comments, but sold a lot of it on this pop on Thursday. And Tesla breaking out here. Here's your level, and here's your breakout. Could be heading to 260 next week. Tesla always a fan favorite. And that's it, everybody. So let's wrap things up here. Last week before the holiday, we've got the Dow sitting at, like I said, a record high. Next resistance level is probably pretty close to where we are right now. Same with the Qs. 408 looks like resistance. And the SPY, we've got a 473 and 490, but there you can see all where we ended up, and next levels of areas of resistance, which I think we may end up testing next week. And as far as economic events go, it's probably things are going to lighten up a bit. We do have some housing information here that's going to come out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We've got leading economic indicators at 10, and then this is the big event for the week, the Friday PCE data. Of course, this is the index that the Fed supposedly watches the most in terms of their gauge for inflation, and we can expect that to continue to look like it's maybe coming down or at least not going up anymore. So that coming out on Friday before the open. And as far as earnings go, we got a few interesting things. We got FedEx after the market on Tuesday. That's always a good read on the economy. We've got a Micron. A lot of the semis have really done well in the last week. That'll be interesting. We do have CCL, the cruise line, and Nike consumer products. That'll be interesting on the Thursday after the close there. So that's it, everybody. Hope you are having a great weekend, and we'll hopefully see you at 8:30 Monday morning, where we start our pre-market show live on YouTube, and then trading the market open at 9:30 with our members. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye for now.